Hello everybody, we're going to take a look at dividing with variables next. It's also called dividing rational expressions. This is 2.3G at WAMAP, so level Unit 2, Math 53. It's finally getting interesting. We got two problems to look at. M squared over 12n divided by 5m over 4n cubed. Second problem is n squared over 6n divided by 4m over 3n cubed. So we have to apply a lot of different rules, but it's almost a misnomer to say dividing with variables. As we know, division with fractions is actually remembering to invert the second one, the divisor, and multiply the dividend by that inversion, by the inverse of the divisor. So let's take a look at how that works out on my tablet. So the original problem is m squared over 12n divided by 5m over 4n cubed. First thing we want to do, we see the division sign and we see fractions, so we're thinking, okay, invert and multiply, or this keep change flip. That's the new hip one. More of a rap style rhythm than invert and multiply, which sounds like something you might hear at a religious gathering. So we're going to multiply 12m squared over 12n times the inverse of 5m over 4n cubed, which would be 4n cubed over 5m. Okay, so now it's just a regular multiplication problem. And if you want, you can expand these out. And let's go ahead and see how that looks, because sometimes that's easier to follow. M times 4 times n times n times n. Okay, and let's remember that 4 can be, we can do a prime factorization of that, get 2 times 2 out of that, right? And that's all over 12, which can be 2 times 2 times 3 times n times 5, which is prime already, so we can just leave it, times m. And now what we do, we get a better color for one thing. Now we can just do the match game or whatever we want to call it. Just cancel out. So one n cancels out one n. A 2 cancels out a 2, and another 2 cancels out another 2, so this 4 is gone. And an m cancels out an m. And we got no more numbers in the top, just m and n times n, which we can write mn squared over, and we've got 3 times 5, 15. Now this is looking a lot like an answer we had earlier when we did multiplication of these things, and they just give you the inverse here, and then you invert it and it turns into something really similar to multiplication with variables. So this is the answer, mn squared over 15, and you can also do this a different way. If I can find one more color. Now let's go with black. So I can take out an m, because there's an m here, and we're not crossing out that m, we're just getting rid of the 2. And you can think of this as m to the first power, but that's equal to m, so we're going to leave it that way. We're going to divide 4 by 4 and get 1, and also divide the denominator by the same 4 and get 3. And we've got an n here, so we can take away one of these n's to get n squared instead of n to the third power. And then we just collect up what we have left, which is m. Let's see, m times n squared, right? m n squared over, we got a 3 here and a 5 here. That's 15. So you can do it both ways. I'm willing to bet that more people would make mistakes this way than this way, but you can practice and do practice a lot and see which way works better for you. There is a practice sheet with this lesson, so be sure to try it. If you run into any trouble or have questions, let me know. Now let's take a look at this one. So we're going to do the keep change flip, or what I was taught, invert and multiply. but I went to a religious school as a child, so maybe that's why they used invert and multiply. So we're going to keep the m squared over 6n the same, and we're going to say times 3n cubed over 4m. And I would just suggest doing as many of these, doing a lot of these, so that you have this keep, change, flip, invert, and multiply thing down cold, so that you're not even thinking. It's second nature. And then from here, we can, let's change the color just so you can see what I'm saying. Take out an m and one of these m's, and take out an n, and that gives us just n to the second power. Divide this by 3 for 1, divide this by 3 for 2, and that's about as far as we can go. So we have m times 1 times n squared, so m n squared. This is really similar to the one we just did. And then we have 2 times 4, which is 8. So, and you could expand that out if you wanted. M times 3 times n times. And I think you'll start to agree with me after you've done a lot of WAMAP practice that they really don't change these around too much. 6, we can write 2 times 3 times n, and then times 2 times 2 times m. And this would be the problem after we did the keep, change, flip thing, right? And then we're going to just look for anything we can cancel, right? So we got a 3 here in the bottom, 3 in the top. We got an m in the bottom, m in the top. Lots of 2's, but they don't match anything. We got one n. We can take out another n. Oops. If I just tap this thing wrong, let's see if we can put those back in. All right. Now don't do as I do, do as I say. So we've got a lot of 2's in the bottom, 1, 2, 3 2's, and we have 3 n's in the top. And let's see, I think we didn't take out the second n. We were just about to. So m for an m, 3 for a 3, n for an n, and there's no more similarity, so we have to just gather up what's left. We got an m and 2 n's, so this is going to look, wow, they look so similar. mn squared over 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 more is 8. So either method will work, but I think this method where you expand it out will work better more often than this other method where you might forget, leave out a step, drop something. All right, well, try these on your own. Try a few extra problems, and if you still have trouble, come see me. We'll talk.